Here we have the 4 pattern pieces for the collar. So I have the top piece of the collar and the bottom piece of the collar. And then you have the top and the bottom. The first top 2 pieces I lined, interfacing, ironed on, and without the seam allowance. So if you notice, the interfacing is exactly the size of what the collar is going to be. The collar has the seam allowance. So I iron that on, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to join the 2 pieces. So I place the notch in the middle of the collar, top piece and bottom piece. And right now I'm going to line the notch up with each other, and I'm going to go ahead and place a pin right there. So this is what it's going to look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and line it up again with the marking of your seam allowance. I'm going to do it on the other side also. So here we have both the colors joined. Whatever you do on these 2 pieces, you're going to do the same on these 2 pieces. So here I have the color joined. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch all the way over, and I'm going to join the 2 outer pieces and do the same as I did here. Lined it up on the notch, pinned it down, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then I'll be back to show you what they looks like. Here we have the 2 colors joined together. We have these 2 pieces, these 2 pieces. So now I'm going to cut this seam allowance down to 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to cut this seam allowance down to 1/4 of an inch. Then after doing that, I'm going to place them right sides facing each other, line them up, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna stitch all the way here to here, all the way here, down this way. So I'm going to stitch the whole outer area from here, this end, all the way over to this end. I'm not going to stitch here. So once again, I'm going to cut the seam allowance on both sides to 1/2 inch, to 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to cut it all the way here, just these 2 pieces. And then line them up. I'm going to stitch from this end all the way over to this end. And then I'll be back to show you what I'm going to do next. This is what it looks like after I've joined both color pieces together. So now I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. Over here, I'm going to cut all the way till 1/4 inch. Leave 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around. After I'm done doing that, I'm going to flip the color over. Make sure when you flip the color over, there's the peak on the top part of the color. you make sure to take a little pin and just pull it out. Take your time, don't do it too rough because you could burst the thread. So you're gonna do that one. And then I'm gonna do this one. Also, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press it out with the iron, a hot iron, so it lays better. Okay, so after you cut the inside piece, leave 1/4 inch seam allowance, you're gonna do this. You're gonna iron it out. And after you iron it out, the color would have its shape. So right now it's shapeless because it's not ironed. But after you cut it, you're gonna iron it out. And then I'll be back to show you what it looks like. Okay, this is the finished color. This is what it looks like. I flipped it over from the right side outside and I flat edge down all around. I did a flat edge here because this is going to be open to attach to the shirt. So there you go, the finished product. So this is the, you are completed doing the collar. So now we're going to continue with making the top. Now I'm working on the back section of the top. This is the pattern piece and 2 pieces with measurements. So this will be the pattern with the measurements. Now here we have the pattern pieces. It's cut 2 pieces, singles, and seam allowance, I marked it out as 1/2 inch. So this is the top back section. So now I'm going to show you the full back section. So now here we have the second piece of the back section because the back is separated into 2 pattern pieces. So this is the pattern piece with measurements. Okay, this is here. So now I'm going to remove the pattern piece. And now we have the pattern cut on a fold, 2 pieces with the seam allowance of 1/2 inch all the way around. So now I'm going to open the pattern piece. This is what it looks like. And this is the other pattern piece. So I'm going to separate the pattern piece for the top that I have the 2 pieces. I'm going to lay one down. I'm going to take the back piece, lay it onto it, and then I'm going to take the other piece and lay it onto it, and it's going to sew this way, just straight across. Now before we do that, the back pattern piece, I cut it 2 inches longer than it's supposed to be. What I want to do is right here I'm gonna place, let me show you. I'm gonna show you on the pattern piece. On the pattern piece, there's 2 lines right here. These 2 lines are the measurements for the pleat that will go in the back. So what you do is you put the pattern piece on the pattern, and then you just take a pin and you're just gonna go ahead and mark the pleat. So you're gonna do the same thing on this side. And then you're gonna just go ahead and mark the pleat. So this section here is where you're gonna make a pleat. You're gonna just take the middle mark and just put it in there, and go ahead and just put the pin. You do the same on the next side. You take the middle part, close it in, and then you put the pin on this side. So that's gonna be the pleat for the back. You can, if it's gonna be easier for you, you can just go ahead and iron the pleat down. That way it's gonna stay and it's gonna be easier for you to work with. So now we're gonna do what I showed you before. We're gonna go ahead, put the pattern piece to the back, right side facing each other. Then you're gonna take the other section and you're gonna put it right above that. Make sure you line it up to the middle. And there we go. So now you're just gonna go ahead and you're gonna stitch all the way down your seam allowance. And there you have it. Stitch all the way down your seam allowance. And then I'm gonna come back and show you what it looks like. Here we have the back pattern. We have the pleats. That's the 2-inch pleat in the back. We also have the 2 pieces that covers the back piece. So this is what it looks like on the round side. And this is what it looks like on the right side. So for now we are finished with the back part of the top. So now we're going to move on to the other pattern piece. Here we have the front pattern piece. It's cut on a single, it's 2 pieces. And this is the pattern. So this is the 2 pieces. I've marked 1.5 inches to the front. That's going to be a fold for your button and your buttonholes. Also the seam allowance is added all the way around. So beginning I'm gonna use one piece to show you what I'm gonna do. So here we have the front pattern with the measurements laid out to fold. So what I'm gonna do is, and doing this you can iron it down if it's easy for you. You can fold it down, iron it, and fold it over and iron it. And that's gonna give you your fold for your buttons or your buttonhole, whichever section you're working on. So there you go, that's your base for your buttons or your buttonhole. So this is what you're gonna do on the top piece. You're also gonna do this to the second part of the pattern piece. So the same thing that you're gonna do to one side, you're gonna do it to the other. So you're gonna do the exact same thing on this side as you did on this side. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a stitch all the way along here as close to the edge as possible. You're going to do the same stitch as close to the edge as possible, or if not, you choose just do one, but make sure you stitch this side right here down. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on both pieces of the front, the left and right side, and then I'll be back to show you what's next. And this is what the front, left and right side of the top looks like. So these are the two pieces, and we just sew on where the button and the buttonhole is going to be placed. So now we're going to move on to another part of the top. Okay, here I have the sleeve pattern. With the sleeve pattern, this is a basic sleeve pattern. This is the center of the sleeve pattern. So what I did was, this is the shoulder. So for the center of your shoulder line, you're going to come down 5 inches on both sides. When you come down 5 inches, you add 1.5 inches or 2 inches for seam allowance. So let's say 7, you're using 2 inches, so it's going to be 7. So you come from the center of your shoulder line all the way down to 7 inches and just go straight down. So from here to here to here would be 7 inches, 7 inches. From here to here would be 7 inches, and from here to here is going to be 7 inches. You just cut straight down. So to make it a little simpler, you fold the sleeve pattern in half, you measure down 5 inches, and then you just measure here 5 inches and you go straight down. So for me, I wanted it a little longer, so I did 7 inches. So you come in from the center to 7 inch, from here to 7 inch, and you just cut straight down. When you do that, this is what you're gonna end up with. This is what your pattern is gonna look like. This is the center, front and back of your sleeves. This is where your sleeves end. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and fold. I'm gonna fold in 1/2 inch and I'm going to just fold in an inch. So you're going to do that right here, and then I'm going to turn it this way and do the same thing, 1/2 inch and an inch. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And I'm just going to do it in the middle so it holds it down. So now with this, after you do this, you're going to do this on both parts of the sleeves. So after you're done doing that, you're going to stitch all the way down, and then you're going to do the same thing you did over here on this side. And you're going to go ahead and fold it 1/2 inch and an inch, and then flat stitch it down. You're going to do it on the other side of the sleeves also, so you have a left and right side. You're going to do the same thing. Also, this is the end of the sleeve, so what you're going to do is you're going to fold the hem. You could do it after or before, it doesn't matter. You fold it in, and then you fold it over again, like that. So you go ahead and you're going to pin this down. So you're going to flat stitch this also. So you're going to stitch this down, and do the same over there. And then you're going to do the same to this sleeve. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And I'll be back to show you what it looks like. Here we have the finished sleeve. I stitched the sides in and I hemmed the sleeves. So this is the center shoulder, and I did it on both sides. So both sleeves are done. So this is what it looks like on the right side. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to the next part of the top row. So here we have the two front pieces and the back section of the top. What I did, I pinned it together on the shoulders. But remember, the back section had two pieces. So I left one piece out and I pinned the right side section onto the shoulders. So first, you're going to go ahead and stitch down the seam allowance. When you're done stitching the seam allowance, you're going to go ahead and you're going to cut off the excess, which is about, you leave 1/4 inch. So just cut half of it off and leave 1/4 inch. Then you're going to take it and you're going to take this section, you're going to, there you go. You're going to fold it in, and then you just go ahead and put it down, and then you're just going to flat stitch all the way across. You're going to do that on both sides. So once again, you're going to stitch the shoulders, the front and back together, cut off half of the excess of the seam allowance. Then you're going to take the back piece of the top, and then you're going to put it on to where you stitch the seam allowance down, and you're just going to go ahead and stitch this down. So you're going to do that for both pieces, and then I'll be back to show you what it looks like. So this is what the tops look like after I join the shoulders I joined the back. I made the support for the buttons and the buttonhole and the pleat in the back. So now all those steps are finished. Now we're going to move on to another part of finishing the top. Here we have the collar and the neckline of the top. I pinned 1/2 inch seam allowance. I pinned the collar onto the top. I pinned it to the front, 2 front pieces and the back neckline. So this is what it will look like. Now I'm going to stitch all the way across. When I'm done that, I'm going to cut 1/2 of this seam allowance off, and then I'm going to turn it in. Then I'm going to fold the other 1/2 of the collar on like this, and I'm just going to go ahead and flat stitch it all the way over. So once again, I'm going to stitch all the way across, cut 1/2 of the seam allowance off, and then I'm going to fold this in, turn this in to 1/2 inch seam allowance like this, and I'm just going to flat stitch all the way over. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll be back to show you what it looks like. So here we have the collar, the finished collar sewn on, and this is the outside. So now what I did, the armholes, I pinned the facing onto the armholes. So on this side, I'm going to open it out so you can see. This is the armhole all the way front and back. So what I did, I pinned the facing onto the armhole, and then the sleeve section, I find the middle point of the shoulder and the middle point of the sleeves, and I pin them down. So I pinned it first, and then I pinned the liner. So now I'm going to go ahead and stitch all the way across. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I'll be back to show you what it looks like. Here I have the collar sewn. I have the sleeve. I place the sleeve on and the liner. Over here I place the sleeve on and the liner. So now I'm going to work on the sides of the top. So I'm going to join, let me show you one side. I'm going to join the sides of the top, both the front and the back, and I'm also going to hem the top, and then I'll be back to show you what it looks like. Okay, here we have the t-shirt. I hemmed it. The sleeves are on, the liner are on, collar on. So all needs to be completed is just add the button and buttonholes, and this will be your finished top. So I'm going to go ahead now and add the buttonholes, and then I'll show you what it looks like.